It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. You can find me at Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting, either through my website, emailrevealer.com, or you can email me directly at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. If you like our show, be sure and check out our Patreon. Put up 8 hours of exclusive content there each month, plus the shows you're listening to right now ad-free up on Patreon, the Opperman Report Patreon. And as usual, the archives are free over at Spreaker.com. You go there, sign up for free, get an email notification when new content goes up, and there's a chat room too as well. But I forgot to mention too, if you go to SilkCityHotSauce.com and you put in promo code ED, you get a free bottle of hot sauce and 15% off of your order at SilkCityHotSauce.com. Best hot sauce in town. We're really lucky today to have an excellent guest. Mike King from ProfilingEvil.com is his website, and he's written this book called Deceived, an investigative memoir of the Zion Society cult. This one of these polygamy cults up there in Utah. Mr. Mike King, are you there?
I am. It's so nice to be here, Ed. Thanks for inviting me.
No, thank you so much. Before we get into your book, Deceived, an investigative memoir of the Zion cult, the Zion Society cult, tell us about yourself. Who is Mike King?
Oh, well, I'm now in my 60s, Ed, and I'm starting to really enjoy life, but I had a wonderful career. I did almost 30 years in law enforcement, retiring as a chief of staff in the Attorney General's office out in Utah. But along the way, I served in patrol and rode police motorcycles. I served on the SWAT team. I was an investigator for a number of years, and I even had the opportunity about midway through my career to be trained by FBI profilers in the art and science of criminal profiling. After the 2002 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City, which I had the opportunity of serving in the intelligence command on, I took a job with a private company in Los Angeles called ESRI, Environmental Systems Research Institute, which is a GIS mapping company, and I now consult and provide support to law enforcement agencies around the world.
Yeah, I forgot to mention you got a YouTube channel too, Profiling Evil on YouTube.
Yeah, we do. It's actually been a lot of fun. It started out actually as a little experiment with my kids, who kept saying for years, "We're so tired of hearing you talk about all these old police stories. Why don't you just record them and stick them on YouTube?" And so we started in June, and the thing just exploded. We're now at 50,000 subscribers, and obviously looking for more. We look at cold cases. We looked at situations involving law enforcement. I felt like there was such a rugged year 2020 for law enforcement that there were things that I could do to rehumanize police officers in the face of the public. So we spent a lot of time talking about the impact that the profession has on the people that are out there on the street. And while some of the arguments this year that we've seen are well-deserved, the majority of police officers are horrified by the things that happened and don't do business that way. And so I use this platform as a way to help also make sure people know these are human beings that are trying their hardest.
Now, I noticed too on ProfilingEvil.com, you have like a people can participate in looking at cold cases and stuff like that. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, in fact, I call it public CSI, crowdsourced intelligence, and it's really kind of an interesting concept. We created something called the Evidence Room on our YouTube channel, and we have a place on our website where people can go and submit information if they feel uncomfortable with law enforcement, or they just want to provide, hey, I happen to look for something. A great example is on the Daybell case in Idaho, if you've watched that, the missing children who were later found buried in the backyard of Chad Daybell's home. At one point, they were believed to have been just before they disappeared in Yellowstone Park. And so we threw out to this YouTube community a challenge to see if anyone could show us that they were in Yellowstone Park. And We had people, Ed, that were viewing hundreds and hundreds of hours of park CCTV imagery, looking at the video camera footage, and they found them in the park and provided that information that we were able to just pass on. So it's an amazing way to share intelligence and give people a chance to weigh in. And a lot of folks, are getting really good at surfing the web and finding information that's publicly disclosed, but sometimes goes past law enforcement, who just frankly doesn't have the time to research everything.
You seem to be working on this thing too, Susan Morphews.
Yeah, we actually helped with the Suzanne Morphew case. This is a mother who is a 49-year-old mom that disappears on Mother's Day. Strangely, her husband happens to be in Denver, some 2.5 hours away on the day she disappears, doing some last-minute business stuff. His children happen to be sent off to a church camp at this time, and she mysteriously disappears and is wiped off the face of the map. And it's so disturbing because there were suggested alibis, like a mountain lion may have taken her, or that the boogeyman got her, or that she crashed on her bicycle and stumbled into the creek. And so we went out and we started looking at that case. We examined things. We brought on the experts from the Mountain Lion Foundation to just completely blow holes in this concept that a mountain lion could pristinely kill a human being and carry them off, never to be seen or have any artifact of the evidence. And so we kind of used the platform to kind of explore some ideas, and that one was one where we really were blessed to become very close to Suzanne's family, who invited us to come out and help them with the search, and we organized mapping software so that they could track all 700 plus searchers in real time, and that's just kind of a way we can help out a little bit.
Well, that's excellent, man. They have a real professional helping out in these cases. Now, the Zion Society. Who was the Zion Society?
Yeah, Zion Society has captured a few people's attention. Some people have wondered if it had something to do with Judaism. It's the term Zion Society is actually a Christianity term, and groups have taken that and used it to identify them as a perfect people. What we had was a pedophilic predator who decided that he was going to build a religion that would somehow justify his desires to sexually assault children, and he used the polygamy system to start that in motion, and he called his group the Zion Society.
Now, from what I understand, the guy was originally a landscaper. How did he go from being a landscaper to running a big cult?
That's the beauty, I think, of being a self-proclaimed prophet. You can be someone living a rather mundane life like landscaping and propel yourself into greatness by saying, I'm one that God has chosen, and you people are really lucky to know me.
And what were their beliefs? What was he proposing?
Well, it was interesting. He started out with basic Christianity, but then he started to embrace the idea of polygamy. And if you think of polygamy, sometimes it's attributed to one faith in the Utah area, but in reality, polygamy is something that extends all through the Old Testament and the New Testament, and has been a part of Christianity for many years. In fact, in the U.S. today, still there are, from what I understand, like 50,000 practicing polygamists across the country who come from all kinds of different backgrounds. But this guy embraced the idea that polygamy and religion would give him the opportunity to have relationships with multiple women, something that was against the law and is against the law, but if it's sanctioned by God, then of course it's something that you have to do. And he started his religion based on that idea that I'm just doing what God wants me. And somehow his wife bought off on this idea that he just has to do what God wants. Well, what happened with this particular guy is over time, his deviance continued, like in most deviant characteristics and personality types, to get worse. And before long, it was not only that did he want to have multiple wives that he could have sexual relationships with, but then he wanted those women to start having relationships with each other. And that it was all to be done under his direction. Well, again, with all of these sicknesses and cancers, it just got worse. And eventually he then started introducing the female children into the mix and started abusing them as well.
How was he able to attract followers? Like, did he start with his friends and family, and then how did he draw people in?
You know, this is really troubling for a lot of us because we want to think that we're smart enough to avoid something like this. I think of Dr. Margaret Singer, who she died a few years ago, but she wrote an amazing book called Cults in Our Midst. And I'll never forget a quote that she made, and it goes like this. She says, quote, "We know that people can be led to buy almost anything. In addition to buying almost anything, people can apparently be led to believe almost anything. Cults know that if you knew from the get-go what you were in for and why, you would never join. It's as simple as that," close quote. And she is absolutely right. We've seen this evolution. You know, you think back when we were looking at Jim Jones and others, we used to think these were uneducated people that were joining cults, that they were, you know, just idiots to be sucked into this. And what we're finding today is that the cults that are existing today, and there, according to the experts, are some 5,000 cults around the world in existence at any given moment, that they actually are out recruiting intelligent people and bringing them in. They're offering them something that they can't get in their regular lives. And somehow, for some personalities, it resonates.
Now this was you led this investigation, right?
I did, yes.
How did they come to your attention? How did you find out?
Well, you know, this is another crazy thing. I was a property crimes investigator. I mean, I'd served on the SWAT team and had been in the city police department and was hired by a brand new county attorney to come in and work in his county attorney's office. And so I was actually running an undercover sting operation one day. We were buying stolen vehicles and selling them on the street, and we were building up this network. And I happened to walk in the office one day around noon, and the receptionist grabbed me and said, "Hey, do you have a minute? This woman's been waiting to talk to an investigator for a while, and we don't have anyone available." I was kind of the last person that they thought of and available. And so I said, "Sure, I'll talk to her for a moment." She's an attractive young 20-year-old woman. We went back into my office, and we sat down, and the first thing that she said was, "I've been involved in a cult that's sexually abusing children. Can I tell you my story?" And, you know, I tried to act like this was something I heard every day, Ed, but, you know, I mean, I was just a dumb old property crimes investigator. I'd never handled, other than as a patrol officer, child sexual assaults or sexual assaults in general. And she started to reveal what had gone on in this cult that she escaped from, and it was absolutely unbelievable. In fact, so unbelievable that I immediately, after dismissing her and setting up an invitation for her to come back the following day, I went into the county attorney's office and interrupted his schedule and said, "I got to share with you what I got here." And we both just sat back almost with our jaws dropped open, wondering if this is even possible.
How was she able to escape?
You know, I wonder to this day if she had a sense that things were beginning to unravel, but she finally one day grabbed her child and just left. And I think she had so much information on the group that they stayed away from her and tried to avoid upsetting her in hopes that she would never talk. And, of course, she did, and she basically led to the rescue of 32 children.
Fascinating. Now, this is in the town of Ogden, Utah, right?